we keep having this messaging coming out of these agencies, especially during the Biden-Harris administration, that, you know, there's nothing to see here. With regards to FEMA, they are being now presented with evidence that they were treating people differently based on their partisan views. That is an incredible discovery in the United States of America. And so, of course, you're going to have an investigation. We're not going to wait.
Well, FEMA insisting that the case of an agency supervisor telling relief workers to avoid Trump campaign signs at homes during disaster response is an isolated incident. Let's bring in the FEMA official who was fired over the incident, but claims she has been made a scapegoat. Marnie Washington.
Had to be a black woman. How do we know? How did we know that in the midst of a natural disaster, the person that they allege is a scapegoat, but obviously participated because she was fired, had to be a black woman? You cannot make this up. You can't predict it. And I was waiting to even have a conversation about this with you guys before I found out all of the facts, because I don't just react to stuff immediately. I want to know what the hell is going on. Had to be a black woman. If it was ever something different, I would be surprised. The only other thing that it could, we ain't even gonna get into that. Let's see what she got to say for herself. I'm curious. Let's see what she got to say for herself.
Marnie, thank you so much for coming on. I want to read this because this is from the FEMA administrator, Deanne Criswell. She said this, and she's talking about you. She said, quoting here, recently, a FEMA employee departed from these values to advise her survivor assistance team to not go to homes with yard signs supporting President-elect Trump. This was reprehensible. I want to be clear to all of my employees and the American people, this type of behavior and action will not be tolerated at FEMA. You say this is not your policy. You're not political. You don't care about the right or the left. You are simply doing your job and following your orders. So you're telling me these orders came from somebody above?
Correct. When I first reported to Florida, I was already on another team. I was there as a specialist. This was the culture. They were already avoiding these homes based on community trends from hostile political encounters. It has nothing to do with the campaign sign. It just so happened to be part of the community trend. When you focus in on the campaign sign, you are violating the Hatch Act. So that is something that FEMA definitely wants to stay away from, because it was created in 1939, and that was to protect citizens from being alienated based on their political stance.
So just so we're clear, you're saying that basically FEMA was doing this out of safety. They were doing that safe because they had some adversarial conflicts with some people with Trump signs in their front yards. So they banned every Trump sign. They said, don't go to any homes with Trump signs. And if that's the case, why would they come down so hard on you? Why are you the scapegoat? Why are you the one they're saying was, quote, reprehensible for actually putting this in place when you did not put this in place?
Let's hold off for 1 second before we get to her, because we're definitely going to address her. Let's start with the foundation that you are being persecuted against for your political views, for your right to elect. And they always on the left sit there and tell you, oh, okay, you know what? It's a fair and free election. This election wasn't fair. It hasn't been. And the only reason that we sitting here getting a complete wash of the swamp, because that's not what they wanted to do, is because the people educated themselves. Man, if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have independent content creators, if we didn't have people that are willing to stand up and stand out and risk everything and risk alienation from their family and all of that, if we didn't have people that actually use their platforms for good at the sacrifice of so many things in their life, how misinformed would we be? You know, it only exaggerates the idea of the media has been controlled for so long. And I don't even trust a lot of these podcasters and stuff like that, because they paid plants. I don't trust celebrities. We already see there was a bunch of money that was coming out from the Kamala Harris campaign. And so when she was walking around, see, I'm going to revisit all of that. I ain't going to forget nothing. When she was walking around taking photo ops, you know, when the hurricane and stuff was happening, how you going to sit there and evaluate whether or not somebody got a Trump sign in front of their crib and everything is completely blown over and torn up in the first place? What happened to our humanity? It don't matter if you got a Kamala Harris waltz, if you sassy. Look, I ran into a neighbor the other day, a grown man that had a dress on. I might even have it still in my, I had to take a picture before I even got out the car. I said, people are not going to believe me. People are not going to believe me. It's a grown man that had a dress on. I'm going to have to find that picture. I might put it on my community tab. A grown man that had a dress on when I pulled up. A new neighbor. I said, okay, all right. I got out. We talked. He seemed like an okay guy as far as, whether or not he was going to do anything in the neighborhood. However, we don't necessarily have to be friends, but I'm not going to deny his humanity. And so I'm not going to advocate for him to get thrown out of the place. Hey, did he pay his rent? Is he doing anything illegal? I may not necessarily align with his lifestyle, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to deny his humanity. You understand what I'm saying? So, for them to go in and discriminate against taxpayers, these are taxpayers that are paying that wants the federal government to work on their behalf, and they 100% was discriminated against before we even get to her. These are policies, and this is why you need people like Trump and outsiders to come in, tear that whole system down and start over, because it's evil. It's 100% evil. It's crazy.
What's reprehensible is they're not being transparent.
See if I can find that picture.
Why is this coming down on me? I am the person that jotted down the notes from my superiors, and my notation in Teams chat was exposed from their surge capacity team. That's exactly what happened, and it's easy to then say, well, haha, it's her name, it's her writing.
Right.
Make her accountable for it. But I'm just simply executing, again, what was coming down from my superiors.
Right. And I'm wondering, because it says things like when on this list that says avoid the Trump houses, drink water, take rest breaks. So there's a list of things. You didn't come up with those either, right?
No.
So you didn't come up with any of this list. Is
Correct.
that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir.
And I'm wondering, how do you prove that, Marty? You're trying to.
It doesn't even matter. You participated, so we can be whistleblowers and we can hold people accountable for everything, discrimination against you, all of this stuff. But you just going with the flow. Look, man, this is all excuses. I don't care if it was her policy. I think that the whole system needs to be torn down, and I'm absolutely okay with her getting fired, because if she go along with the get along with the discrimination, you just as much as the problem. As a matter of fact, you the one that's implementing it. You the one with the gun, boss, at the gun line, boss. This is evil, and we're not going to excuse her from her behavior, and her going on this platform don't make it any better. Oh, I didn't come up with the policy. I'm just the one that's implementing it. Shut it up. Shut up, bro.
To save your reputation, how do you prove that this order came from above?
Well, the last time that question was posed, I verbally called on all DSA crew leads and specialists that are still active with FEMA and former to come forward and discuss our avoidance policies, our de-escalation policies. Because to be honest with you, we don't just I know the highlight here is the Trump campaign signage, but if someone is in another, like an urban community, and it's a different culture and someone feels uncomfortable, we can't go to that home. If you have loose dogs and someone on the team is comfortable with dogs and another person is not.
Loose dogs and a campaign sign is two different things, fam. Come on, bro. I want to hear the whole thing. Let me just hear this whole thing.
We can't go to that home because of safety precautions.
So you feared the Trump houses. The people on FEMA were fearing the Trump houses like they were fearing people with vicious dogs in their backyard.
Exactly. And that's based on the trends. You can ask FEMA for incident reports. They have those because they ask us to report out if there's an incident at home. And unfortunately, again, the passionate supporters for Trump, some of them were a little bit violent.
But all of them were painted with the same broad brush. All of them as being, we're not going to go near these.
This is called racism. This is called discrimination. It's called sex. Whatever ism that you want to throw in there, it's called that. This is dirty. This is dirty.
They're all bad people.
No, because some were registered. Some did receive case inquiries and updates.
Yeah.
Some of them came outside and said, "Hi, I appreciate what you're doing. I would like to participate." And then some were very vocal and firm that they didn't want anything to do with FEMA, and they thought that we were crooks.
And lastly, we've got to go. We're running out of time here. Did this also happen in other places? This was Florida, but did it happen in North Carolina? Did it happen in other places?
Georgia as well. Just ask the crew.
I believe that the system was bad across the board. I don't think that she's the only one. I think it came from above, but she also participated, and so you're not a scapegoat. You're a participant, and you need to be fired along with everybody else. Y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. This is dirty. This is crazy. And then they want to try to act like we crazy because we saying that we being discriminated against. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. This is called Identity Politics. Tap into the Patreon. We're going to get that money because you can get money regardless of what your orientation is or whatever it is that you stand for. Also, teach Hanley 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. And get your tickets to come and see me December 14th. Don't matter what race you are. Crazy.